What's going on, boys and girls? Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about dynamic microphones, and in particular this microphone, the Shure SM58. Now, what is a dynamic microphone? Glad you asked. So in recording studios, you will find 4 different kinds of microphones: condenser, dynamic, ribbon, and tube. This is a dynamic. So the 2 most common that you'll see in home studio recording is a dynamic microphone like this one, or a condenser microphone like this. Now, a condenser microphone has a pickup pattern called a cardioid pickup pattern, which is basically when you have the mic in front of you, if the microphone is right here, it's like a heart-shaped pickup pattern. So it's more sensitive on the sides, a little bit more sensitive from behind, but it's most sensitive directly in front of you. A dynamic microphone, on the other hand, has a pickup pattern of pretty much just directly in front of you. So as you notice, the closer that I get to the microphone, the louder that I sound. And the further back that I go like this, you can hear the pickup pattern drops off quite a bit. And if I go to the side of the microphone, the pickup pattern is even less till it gets right about here and almost directly in front of it. Now, dynamic microphones are typically used in podcasting and live performances, but you can record vocals on them and they do sound great. In fact, because of the pickup pattern of dynamic microphones, you'll see some recording artists who actually go into the vocal booth without any headphones, and they'll have a couple of speakers to the side of them, and they'll use that to monitor their vocals. The lead singer for Metallica, he uses the Shure SM58, which is another legendary dynamic microphone. And when he goes into the booth, he just has the microphone set up with 2 speakers, doesn't use headphones, and that's because the dynamic microphone won't pick up any of that sound coming from the speakers, and the sound that it does pick up can either be taken out with EQing, or it's so low that once the track is mixed you won't even hear it anyways. So I definitely recommend going and checking that out. That's really cool to see him do that. I'm not sure of any other recording artists who do that, but I know for sure he does that. Dynamic microphones, unlike condenser microphones, do not require phantom power. So on my interface, I have phantom power turned off. Some dynamic microphones require an additional piece of gear, such as a cloud lifter or a preamp, to be able to boost the gain without adding any distortion. This microphone doesn't require that. The Shure SM7B, which is about $400, that does require it. Now, this microphone right here retails for about $100, but I actually found it on Facebook Marketplace, and the people that were selling it, they were asking $30, and I was able to talk them down to $20, and I just couldn't pass on that. This is a great dynamic microphone. It's legendary. It's been around since like the 60s. I think it was designed and released in like 66 or 68 or something like that. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that the plosives on a dynamic microphone are generally less harsh. So if I do some, it's still there. You'll still hear them, and I still recommend using a pop filter to prevent some of those plosives from hitting the microphone and distorting your sound. But it's not as needed as with a condenser microphone. Now, who should use a dynamic microphone? Well, anyone who lives in a noisy place, such as an apartment building, or if you live by a busy street, railroad tracks, by an airport, anything like that. Because if you have any other noises to the side of you, to the top, in the background, noisy neighbors, cars, traffic, as I've shown you earlier, the farther away you get from the microphone, you're not going to hear those noises. So all of that extra background noise, if you don't have a closet or some sort of makeshift vocal booth that you've made, then a dynamic microphone might be for you. And after using this one for a little bit, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, you can plug it right into your interface and it'll work. You don't need a cloud lifter or a preamp for it. It's very inexpensive. Even if you buy it new, it's $100. But you can usually find it for lower than that. I recommend going to Guitar Center or Sweetwater or any other store that sells musical instruments and microphones that also sells pre-owned equipment. I definitely would look into that first. But if you're someone who has to have absolutely new stuff, like I said, this is only $100, so you can't really go wrong. So I know that this video has been very brief. I just wanted to keep it short and explain a little bit about dynamic microphones and who might want to use one. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to find a beat and I'm going to record a verse with this microphone and with my MXL 990, and I'll let you compare it. I'll play them both at the end, and let you hear the differences between the two. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later. Yeah, this is the MXL 990 cardioid condenser microphone test. Yo, am I clipping? I don't think so. Yo, a little bit. It's alright. Let me spit something nasty. Everybody asks me which mic to use. I tell them whichever one sounds good to you. You gotta spit it, mix it, then put it on the tube. Hopefully you get 100,000 views. I like the mics, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, and phone. You ain't got a studio, then take your ass home. Go and build one up, and don't you ever be afraid. And make sure to check out Behind the Wave. Yeah, this is Shure SM58 test, boy. Let me spit something nasty. Everybody asks me which mic to use. I tell them whichever one sounds good to you. You gotta spit it, mix it, then put it on the tube. Hopefully you get 100,000 views. I like the mics, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, and phone. You ain't got a studio, then take your ass home. Go and build one up, and don't you ever be afraid. And make sure to check out Behind the Wave.